Peace, family. Quick announcement before I start this video. I want y'all all to sign up to my new page, The God Frequency. And when you type it in as one word, The God Frequency. You got to type it as if it was one word. YouTube recently took down a couple of my old Dick Gregory videos. You know, I had some classic interviews with Dick Gregory. You know, he used to go and he used to curse me out and everything. But make sure you all sign up to the backup the YouTube page. It's my backup page, just in case anything happens to this page. All right, family? Enjoy the program. Peace.
I remember when life was better. I remember like I've been alive forever. I remember being born in abundance you never measure. Predecessor from the epicenter, the genetic mecca. I'm a representative of the metal netter. You dead if you never met her. The devil, he never fed her. I protect the treasure, then the present center. Kemet was never desert. Do the rain dance, make the weather wetter. A crown is a head antenna. Call me Imhotep, the architect. I'm clever, break a temple down and put it back together. I remember I was royalty, from the soil where the oil be. Never let the bigger man in me grow from the little boy in me. Been a victim of my loyalty, let my ego kill the joy in me. That's what ended up destroying me. I forgot the Lord anointed me. I forgot that I was God. I forgot that I was free. I forgot that I was king of the jungle until I remembered I'm me. She forgot that she was God. She forgot that she was free. She was stuck up in this slumber so long she forgot she was ever.
This is my first time using Zoom. You there, right, Brother Billy Carson?
I'm here, yeah.
All right, this is my first time using Zoom, family. Bear with me. What I'm going to do is, everybody's filling the chat room. I know y'all surprised to see Brother Rich on here. Y'all usually don't see me like that. I'm behind the camera. I'm about to turn the camera off in a second. I just real quick, I want to tell y'all, I opened up a backup YouTube page, and this is important. I need you to go follow the God Frequency. It's called the God Frequency. Sign up and subscribe to that YouTube page, just in case something happens to this one. I had a lot of old Dick Gregory videos. Me and Dick Gregory used to go in back in the day, family. Y'all seen all the interviews, and YouTube took some of them down and said it was insensitive or something like that. So just in case anything happens to this page, I want to have a backup page. So I'm gonna be uploading a lot of stuff on another YouTube page called the God Frequency. So make sure y'all sign up to my other YouTube page, The God Frequency. All right, family? Yeah. All right. So I know everybody's excited to hear this interview. The brother Billy Carson, man. Listen, welcome to the show, my brother.
Hey, thanks, man. I'm glad you had me on here, man. I appreciate the fact that you reached out to me, man. And I was really looking forward to getting on here after I researched more about your show and all of your videos you've done. Amazing job. Amazing, man. I'm happy to be on here.
Yo, listen, man, I did a show about a month ago, and I was like, yeah, man, I want to do a video with Billy Carson. I read his book. I was talking about your book. I was like, yo, I just got his book or Amazon about the Emerald Tablets. I was like, man, if anybody know Billy Carson, tell him about what I was hyped, man. I said your name, and I said another brother's name, Seven Bomar. And I was like, man, I want to talk. I said, I want to talk to them brothers, man. I want to build with them brothers, man. So when you you reached out to me on Instagram, man, I was real happy, brother. Real happy.
It was great. Donnie Arcade said, hey, man, this guy wants to talk to you. And I was like, wow, Donnie Arcade, me and him are partners in Pantheon. And he's the first artist that I promoted on social media. He listens to your show all the time. So, he heard you, man, and he reached out. And I said, well, let me reverberate that. Let me reach out to him and contact him and make sure we make this happen.
Indeed. Well, thank you, Donnie Arcade. And I see somebody said I can link you with Seven. Make sure y'all do that. Tell Seven to holler at me. But I'm glad Donnie hollered at you. It's funny, man. You are, because I heard some of your music, because I'm a music producer. And I heard some of your music. Yo, bro, you dope with the beats, man. You dope with the music production, bro. Yeah, man. So I was like, wow, this brother do music production. I do music production. I got to link with this brother.
Yeah.
I definitely got to link with this brother.
We got to do something together, man.
Oh, hell yeah.
Let's
you know
something.
That. Yeah, you know that. You know that, man. You definitely know that. We definitely going to link up with that. Yeah. But, man, like I said, it's a pleasure having you on here. I'm just letting the people fill in the chats. For those who have ads at the beginning of my show, what I'm going to do is, after the show airs, I'm gonna take it down and re-upload it with the ads on the beginning. I got a couple of ads at the beginning. The brother King Simon, and a couple of other brothers and sisters who got businesses. My sister with the yoga mats. I forget the sister name, but I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna re-upload this live stream with the ads at the beginning, so y'all could just stay tuned for that. But make sure y'all sign up, subscribe to the God Frequency YouTube page. With that being said, my brother, like I said, it's interesting, and it's that my the people on this page, I represent. I'm from New York. And I'm part of a metaphysical community, and we talk about. Even though I talk a lot about pop culture, I always try to analyze it from a metaphysical perspective, and I always try to give a metaphysical take on anything happening in pop culture, because I know my people's there. So let me talk about it, but let me talk about it from my perspective, a metaphysical perspective. So with a brother like yourself, I really appreciate you, because particularly my channel, we're not used to conversing, or they're not used to seeing interviews with brothers who are on shows like Ancient Aliens or something like that. And in fact, like when we see shows like Ancient Aliens, or or it could be a channel like David Icke or Jordan Maxwell or something like that, we're not used to seeing melanated brothers on there. So we feel left out sometimes, and we feel like, I'm sure a lot of brothers and sisters feel like this isn't for me. And this is exactly where we should be. But a lot of our people, because of the whole color thing and the whole, they feel like, oh, this isn't for me. I don't see my color there. But this is where all the knowledge and information and all the science is at. So I'm appreciative for a brother like yourself who, who's doing his thing. And it's inspiring, as brilliant as Abraham Hicks is, or Bashar is, or some of the information Jordan Maxwell got. Sometimes we have to see divinity in our own image to really appreciate it. So I definitely appreciate seeing divinity in your vessel, my brother, in your biological avatar, because you're inspiration to people who share the same hue of your biological avatar. So I definitely appreciate that, my brother. But what I want to get into first, my brother, with that being said, is that we're talking about Ancient Aliens. Let's start out with Ancient Aliens. A lot of our people, when we read our scholars, the Ivan Van Sertima's, the Dr. Ben, the Dr. Clark's, John G. Jackson, George G.M. James. I forgot who wrote Stolen Legacy. I forgot who exactly wrote that. But we're reading about these groups, and and we're reading about this history. And we're analyzing, and we're saying that, we were more than slaves. We're more than what they taught us we were, just slaves. We have a history of being kings and queens. So when brothers, sisters, or whoever like yourself come in and talk about aliens, it almost throws people off, because they're like, wait a minute. They're trying to take the credit away from us, from our ancestors. Yeah. Our ancestors did that. So this can't be right. The aliens didn't do it. Our ancestors. That's just another trick of white supremacy. So I want you to talk about this whole ancient alien thing to our community, who it might be harder for us to grasp it, because it's so far fetched from, what we've been through a different type of oppression than other groups in this matrix. So I would love for a brother such as yourself to talk on ancient aliens and how it relates to what we call Black people.
Dropped and reconnected. You there?
Yeah, you sound a little blurry.
Okay, yeah.
But I hear you now. Okay.
All right, great. Yeah, so that was a great question. I'm glad you brought that question up, because that's a really important topic, okay? Yes, we had a very amazing ancient history. Yes, we were kings and queens. Not everybody. Don't get that twisted now. There's a little bit of balance that has to happen.
Right.
You can only have one king and queen at a time. That's what a lot of people don't realize sometimes. There were a lot of people who were still slaves of Black people, believe it or not. It's, you know, it's written in all the ancient texts. And as well as people who were working class and people who were also politicians. But yes, we did have a very colorful history. And yes, we did rule over a lot of advanced civilizations, not only just in Africa, but all over this entire planet. But when you go into the ancient tablets that predate the Kemetic history, leading up to where the land of Kem is mentioned again in the Emerald Tablets 36,000 years ago, you discover that we had an even more brilliant, super ancient history where people came here, not little green men with little horns and you know, antenna and all this other kind of stuff, people that we look like them. If you study biology, you will discover that the human being, the Homo sapiens sapien, this hominid body we're in now, this avatar body, is only a few 100,000 years old. That's already scientifically proven. That's peer-reviewed science. You can't bypass it. You can't cheat it. You can't lie about it. You can't fake it. It's the real history. When you go into the ancient tablets, when do they tell you that they created the Homo sapiens sapien, or the Adamu, the first man, the first modern man for this era? About 200,000 years ago. You see, so when you go into the Enuma Elish and the seven tablets of creation, and you go into the Atrahasis epic, you start to discover that there was a super ancient history beyond this history that we've been taught that talks about people coming from another planetary system, coming to our inner solar system to mine our inner solar system for resources like gold and different types of minerals and gems and everything else, just like we are now doing. Matter of fact, we just launched a mission to go rendezvous with a asteroid that has so many trillions of dollars worth of gold on it. So we're doing it. Why wouldn't they do it? Now, all this was etched into stone, etched into wet clay, and then baked and turned into stone. So these words can't be changed and edited. Now, we're talking about information that's tens of thousands of years old. People back then didn't just sit down and write in cuneiform text just to have a sci-fi movie to make up. They literally only wrote down what they were told to write as scribes, or what they saw. And what they were told to write, and some of them what they saw, were these actual beings that came here that are written about in every single text all around this entire planet. You go into the Enuma Elish, you go into the Atrahasis epic, you go into the Indian Vedas, you go into the Mahabharata, you go into the Bhagavad Gita, you go into all these ancient texts, you go into the Terra papers. No matter where you go around this planet and pull up ancient texts, you're going to discover that people came here from another place that look just like us, or we look like them. They're our cousins, they're our progenitors. And so it was a multi-racial species that came here. Some people want to have it, they were all black. Some people want to have it, they were all white. No, if you really analyze all the different texts from around the planet, so you can't just read one specific group of texts and go, oh, this is how it was. The thing that's separated me from a lot of other people in the research area of ancient history and ancient civilizations is the fact that I've gone through over 1,000 texts, scriptures, cylinder scrolls, and books. So over the course of 20 years, I've gone through all this information and been able, and also traveled the globe, been around the world twice, gone to ancient sites and been there in person, talked to homegrown archaeologists, talked to homegrown researchers and guides, people who grew up in the area, people who have history rooted in the area. And then through all that research and investigation, I'm able to paint a bigger picture. The bigger picture is the fact that it wasn't just only people of our complexion avatar. It was also people of different complexions, including blue and green. Blue and green people were also here on this planet at one time. And they're actually etched into hieroglyphs, which you can go visit if you get a passport, go to Egypt, and go to the temples like I did, spend a month out there. You'll see that the blue and green people were there as well. Not animal-looking people, not hybrids, actual people, but they're blue, and one's green. So there were blue people, there were green people, and now scientists have also found that genetic hybrid inside of our body that can create that blue tone or that green tone. And some people are actually born with, they call it a defect, some of those remnant genes coming out. But the fact is, there is a very colorful ancient history that does involve Black people. And it doesn't mean that, we're taking away from any accomplishments, it means that a lot of this information came from another place. And when you look into a lot of the cover-ups with UFOs and so forth, one of the biggest reasons for the big-time cover-up on UFOs is the fact that there are some Black people in those UFOs, not little tiny gray aliens and all of them, not green people, not, not these looking animal type aliens, Black people that look like us, flying around in space and monitoring this planet and going back and forth as they please. And that's one of the biggest secrets that they're keeping from you and don't want you to know about. There's a lot of Black people flying around in these UFOs. So, the knowledge came here. If you look at if you go to the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford, England, and look at the Sumerian kings list, it's going to give you a list of kings that show you a small amount of men ruling over this planet pre-flood for over 200,000 years, and antediluvial kings. And after the flood, then they handed kingship down to pharaohs or kings. And these were half human, half Anunnaki, or half Atlantean, whatever you want to call them. They were split between the Homo sapiens sapien and themselves to keep the bloodline solid for kingship and rulership in ancient times. It took a long time for the pharaonic bloodline to begin to dilute itself out from that direct bloodline, become kind of diluted, but it still remained over a course of time as they got kicked out of Egypt. A lot of people don't know Egypt was overthrown 7 times by 7 different races. Wow. So people always go, all Egyptians, back then were all Black. Not really. They started off Black, and then over time, the races changed as they got overthrown by many different countries. And then eventually, the pharaohs, the last dynasty, they ended up migrating out of Egypt, across Arabia, into Europe, where they became the kings and queen of England and Europe and all that. And they started off Black, but over mating over several generations with different races along the way, ended up becoming more Caucasian. They started off Black and it changed. Just like you look at America now, it's becoming a mixed race, So this is what people have a hard time correlating or understanding. This is why you see a lot of the Egyptian motif when you're looking at the kingdoms of England. All that stuff and all the obelisks and everything else that they put up, all traces all the way back to Arabia, to Africa, then back to Iraq, to the Sumerian kings list, which is in the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford, England. But people have to understand it's not just Black, it's not just white. It's a very colorful history with a lot of information that we can't even go to on one show. But it's a real big story. I mean, it's a huge story. And this is why I'm making a movie called The Chronicles of the Anunnaki. Chronicles, so we can show this thing step by step over time. It's probably going to be a 6 or 7 movie series to really explain all of this in a proper way.
Listen, man, Billy Carson, whenever this movie, when it's time to promote it, let me know, brother. I'm going to promote that movie to the fullest extent.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Please, like we need something like that. That's my job. My job is to promote. I'm a hell of a promoter. My channel has a huge, outreach with the, like I said, with what I do. I definitely look forward, man. I look forward to that so much, brother. So please just do that. We need that.
Oh, yeah,
we need
it's
that.
Gonna be huge. A lot of Black people are going to be portrayed in a way that they've never seen before, even different than Black Panther. It's going to be people with vitiligo and people that are albinos, because the description that you read in these ancient texts are not Caucasian description. A lot of the description are really describing people with vitiligo and albanic type skin with African features, which is very clear in a lot of the ancient statues and a lot of the ancient stone carvings that are left behind, even including the face of the Sphinx. The face of the Sphinx was originally Thoth's face, and then it was recarved much later to Thoth's nephew, who was Marduk's son, Amun-Ra's son. That's why this doesn't fit the size of that lion's body, because it was recarved at a later time, because they had animosity toward each other. Thoth left to go to Mesoamerica to build a Teotihuacan civilization, and his brother then etched his face off and put his son's face. So, but yeah, we see what the facial features are. We see it etched in Abu Simbel. We see it everywhere. We know what it was. The description of the skin tone is in a lot of these texts. And so for the Anunnaki side, it was always, not always, but a lot of the times, it was always this bright colored skin, kind of not pale, but just a bright color, and also blotched color. And then the offspring was always, they called them the black face people. So obviously very dark Black people. You know, so the story is huge, man. I really can't wait. We've already started the writing process. Carl Jones, who wrote the Boondocks and animated the Boondocks series, is involved as well. And the comic book is on the way, as well as toys and video games. And we're going to leverage that to capitalize money for the actual box office movie itself. So it's a big process. But Damon Dash, he knows this is what he does, you know, so he knows the game. He knows how to make it happen. So I'm kind of following his lead, but they love the movie treatment that I wrote. And the whole way that it's laid out. And so we're definitely, it's already moving. We're already doing it.
I got a question about an Instagram post you wrote, I'm sorry. You video you made about Amun-Ra. Now, when I got of a certain age, I was taught by my metaphysical teachers, even Reverend Ike talks about how the Bible is more of a metaphysical book. And that, you know, it's not to be taken literally. You made a post about Amun-Ra. Now, from what I was taught by the same individuals who taught me about the Bible, not necessarily Reverend Ike, but they taught me not to take the Bible literally, and they taught me not to take the things I hear about ancient Kemet literally. So when they talk about Amun-Ra, they are talking about the hidden sun, which just represents the hidden structure that upholds the universe, what we might call in modern term dark matter consciousness. Even his wife Mut represents the visible structure of the universe, and his son Khonsu represents time caused by the rotation of the universe and the galaxy. And this is one of my, I don't know if you want to say my name, want me to say his name, my a brother named Ra Omar, but so when you made the post, and it almost seems as though you made Amun-Ra a literal person. Some people that I know, or somebody like myself who's looking at this as a metaphysical aspect may be a little confused by what you say. So is Amun-Ra a metaphysical concept, or is it an actual person?
Both.
Like what you was talking about?
Both. See, if you read and study the Enuma Elish and the 7 Tablets of Creation, you begin to understand, because it starts off with these metaphysical meanings and the creation of the universe and the creation of our solar system. And these names are being used as etherical beings and God bodies and planets and moons and everything else. And then later on, you realize that they become physical people, and they're talking about mining the planet for resources. They're talking about cloning humans. They're talking about creating a genetically modified race, visiting their home planet and going to battle and war with each other and everything else. So what you realize is it's a metaphysical story and it's a real story. You can't, unfortunately, I mean, you know, these are some great teachers. I don't want to take anything away from anybody that you've been, you know, following and learning from, because everybody's got a little something to give. From my research, I've discovered that a lot of this information is both metaphysical and also physical. To give you an example, Marduk, who's also known as Amun-Ra, he actually, there's a record of him changing the Enuma Elish in a much later copy of the original, taking out the planet's name Nibiru and replacing Nibiru with his own name. You know, this is not metaphysical. This is a real person that's doing this. When you look into the Tower of Babel incident, where Yahweh comes back and destroys the tower that the humans are building into space, and if you look into the Sumerian tablets, it's Enlil. When you look into the Bible, it's Yahweh. If you look in Deuteronomy, the God that is sending all the people out to go battle people halfway around the world that they don't even know, to kill them and rape them and everything else, and rob from them and bring everything back to him, there's several gods fighting each other. You have Enlil, you have Marduk, who's also Amun-Ra. You have all these Anunnaki type gods fighting each other, using God singular in the modern Bible to keep you with that monotheistic mindset, but it's really gods plural battling each other. Evidence of this can be found in Egypt. If you go to Egypt, you'll find that all these gods have been chipped away and hammered away, and all the noses have been broken off and ears have been broken off and everything else all around Egypt.
Right.
And this is common knowledge as to how it happened. It didn't happen because white people didn't want us to know that black people existed in the ancient past. Unfortunately, that's what's been passed around. but it's not totally accurate. Has that happened before? Maybe some stuff has been hidden.
They said Napoleon. They said Napoleon did that.
Right, Napoleon. They said that he shot off the nose of the Sphinx, but the Sphinx's nose was gone long before Napoleon ever arrived. That's actually a lie. The truth is, if you go there, you'll learn this is part of the real, true documented history. The Aten, the sun disk, who's also known again as Amun-Ra, ordered Akhenaten to deface all of these around Egypt, every single where, not only Egypt, but anywhere around the world where they had access to deface all the other gods, because Amun-Ra wanted to be the one and true only God, which that verse that he wrote made it into the actual Bible. And so Akhenaten fulfilled his orders and brought in monotheism into the world, the one God system mindset, that Amun-Ra was the only one and only true God. And he erased so much Egyptian history that everybody was going crazy. And they eventually said, we got to get this guy out of here. That's how he got booted out of Egypt. He got booted out of Egypt because he was erasing the history. And this is what I'm telling you, is not something that I guessed or something that I hoped or wished or had a hypothesis. This is well-documented, actual, true history that anybody can go research and look up. This is the second, when he left, the reason why they chased him was because he took the Ark of the Covenant out of the box inside the king's chamber with him, which was the power source for the Great Pyramid, because the Great Pyramid had long stopped making power through physiostatic electricity. And the Ark of the Covenant, which is the exact same dimensions of that box, became the power source to keep it ignited and keep it generating wireless electricity that they can use through the jet pillars. When he took that, they chased him out of there and tried to catch him. He crossed the Sea of Reeds, not the Red Sea, but he crossed the Sea of Reeds, a much smaller and closer sea, not the Red Sea. And if you wind the clock back, the geological time back, you can discover that there was actually a major earthquake around that time, which would have caused a tsunami, which would have wiped away that entire sea, and he could have easily crossed over it with the people. But so the story is it's a metaphysical story, but there's a lot of evidence that will give you information about a real, true physical reality. So it's both, and see, the Bible is so chopped and screwed from so many different texts and pieced together from so many different things, like the Old Testament. You can get that from the Enuma Elish and the Seven Epics of Creation, Atra-Aces Epic, the Epic of Gilgamesh. You're getting some of it from the Egyptian Book of the Dead, Tibetan Book of the Dead. It's all mixed. It's all mixed up. There's so much mixing going on. And the Bible wasn't just written all at one time. A lot of people have that mindset, some people wrote this Bible. The Bible was written long after all the people were long and gone, from between 100 AD to 900 AD by Phoenicians, follower of Thoth, Tahuti. That's who wrote the Bible. But they didn't write the Bible at once. Some people in one group wrote some scriptures and stuff here. Some people copied some ancient tablets over here. Some people gathered some records from Tibet over here. And some people wrote, some scrolls, and they put them in a pot. And so over hundreds of years, long after the people that are talked about are long gone and dead, these various different scriptures and scrolls and so forth were discovered and then pieced together much later and converted into what we call a book or a Bible, by other people. The Sinai Bible was one of the very first. The Ethiopian was one of the very first. And in the Sinai Bible, there's not even a crucifixion. Jesus never died for anybody's sins. That was added by the Romans much later. So there's so many deceptions and misspelled words that were misspelled on purpose, and so much information like the Apocrypha text that was left out on purpose to keep people away from learning the truth about a lot of the ancient past and interaction with beings from other planets, and so forth and so on, and war machines and everything else is all missing in the Apocrypha text, which was kept out by the Council of Nicaea and King James. So it's a bigger story than what people really think. And it is a metaphysical story, but at the same time, there is true physical reality that's in there. But you have to be able to go back to the ancient text to discover what parts they altered and what parts they changed, because what's etched in stone can't be changed. And that's what I've done. I've gone and I've done this, and I've traveled around the world, and I've gone to these places. I've learned from these cultures hands-on and gotten their direct history instead of not waiting for it to come through the American system. And to me, I've gone there and learned this. So it's a combination of both. And I'm not taking anything away from metaphysical teachers. I'm just saying that it's a story that has duality into it.
Right.
One way it's, like I said, metaphysical. The other way, and a lot of esoteric wisdom. And the other way, it's true physical reality that happened in a lot of these cases. And these people are real. You can look in the Jewish American Library. You can find Marduk, who's Amun-Ra. You can look in the Torah. You're going to find Marduk. You're going to look in the Ultra Aces epic, the Epic of Gilgamesh. Wherever you go, you're going to find Enlil, who's also known as Yahweh. You're going to find these names in these actual texts, more current, I call them more modern day or new age texts, because the true ancient texts, to me, are where it's really at. But you're going to find them in all these new books, including The Matrix. The Matrix, the movie, it didn't come from, all the metaphysical information in the movie Matrix didn't come from some people that just made it up, or the woman. She did a good job putting the story together, but the term the Matrix is a biblical term. It comes from the Bible. It's written in the Bible 5 different times, and the description of the Matrix is to come out of a womb. And if you want to be born into, escape the Matrix and come into the real world, you have to go through the womb. And so what do you see in the movie The Matrix? Neo wakes up in a artificial womb, and then he's flushed out, and he becomes into the real world. You know, so it's a much bigger story than what people think. It's a whole, we got to do multiple shows to really break a lot of this down.
Listen, I was just about to say, listen, yo, I could talk to you for hours, bro. Like, man, listen, this is my shit right here, man. This is some interesting stuff, brother. I could really talk to you for such a long time. I want to ask you, let me see. I can't even see how long we've been on here so far. Yeah, this is my first time using Zoom, family, so I want to thank y'all for being the first to witness this. We got about 900 people in the building right now. That's pretty good. So shout out to the 900 people watching. Make sure you donate to the Cash App, support this channel so I could continue bringing this independent media to you and doing what I do. Make sure you support that Cash App if you're enjoying this podcast. And also make sure, let me know. I'm talking to the brother Billy Carson about possibly bringing him to New York. Let me know if that's something y'all will be interested in. To the metaphysical community out there, and I'm sure that's all who's in the building. I don't see any trolls in the chat room right now. So let me know if that's something y'all will be interested in, me bringing the brother Billy Carson in New York to do a lecture. Something we haven't seen before. I definitely appreciate the brother. I want to give a quick shout out to Delbert Blair. Rest in power to that brother. King Simon has an event for him on September 22nd. So y'all know how to contact King Simon. You can just Google his name and you can find out how to contact the brother King Simon. But shout out to King Simon. He was another brother, you know, Dr. Valentine, Billy Carson, Dr. Delbert Blair, Bobby Hemmett, Dr. Richard King. These is a couple of the people in the New York community that put us on to metaphysics. You know, when we was just taught about Black nationalism, there's nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely amazing. But they took it to another level with metaphysics, and they taught us the highest sciences of who we are, our cosmic history, not just our avatar history. We've been taught our avatar history, but you know, our cosmic history, that's what's up right there, our cosmic history. So shout out to those brothers for tapping into our cosmic history, and you're continuing to carry the torch, and after you, another brother's going to carry it, and so on and so forth. So with that being said, I got one more question for you, because I really want to dig deep into Tahuti, your book, and just some science questions, the double slit experiment. I'm sorry. The gentleman you had on your that you put on your Instagram talking about the rings of Saturn and these 7-foot aliens he's seen, all types of stuff. But Zachariah Stitch and all types of stuff. But I want to ask you one more question about race before we move on, that I know my people might, like I said, might be curious with, because they haven't seen anybody from, you know, ancient aliens, anybody talk about that. I seen an Instagram video you did earlier where you were talking about Colin Kaepernick, Jay-Z, and police brutality. And I'm so sorry to hear what happened to your father and what he went through in his experience in this matrix with police brutality. And I heard what you went through, and I know what I went through, you know, and my experience with dealing with the police as a teen, them just being ruthless to me. I mean, just silly shit for no reason. So what I want to ask you, and I'm thinking about everything that, you know, we see in you're like this, you know, you would like this happened in the 80s, it's 2019, what has changed? Obama, shit just took off with Obama. And I'm thinking about this happens to be the 400 year, they say the 400 year anniversary of slavery from 1619 to 2019. And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, bro, there's some is this some type of alien intervention as far as the oppression of black people? Like, this shit is crazy. The shit we got to go through. Like, is there some type of alien intervention where they're like they're making people do? Because if you anywhere you go in the globe, whether it's our hair is a curse, our skin color is a curse, the way we talk, our dance, everything is like, oh, you know, it's just a complete curse to be black. You know, Jamaicans, they're bleaching their skins. Everywhere you go, everybody's trying to bleach their skin. Everybody wants to perm their hair. It's like they want to get as far away from this black-ish as possible. Is this some type of extraterrestrial conspiracy going on, brother?
This goes all the way back to the Tower of Babel incident. Okay, I'm gonna tell you what happened.
Okay, please.
Black people were dominating the planet at one time, traveling around this entire globe. There's been indigenous black people on every single continent. I mean, every continent.
Yes.
So during the Tower of Babel incident, there was a tower that we were building. This tower was, in my opinion, a technological tower. Now, some people may disagree based on how they interpret the text, but I interpret it as being a technological tower. They were mimicking something that Enlil himself had built called a Bond Heaven Earth, where he created like his own mission control center, basically. And then inside that mission control center, they had something called a Duran key. And this Duran key allowed the elite of the elites to walk from Earth to their home planet instantly. Only the elite were allowed through it. The other people had to use the mission control. Yeah, this is amazing. This is written in stone, man. The other people had to wait for a rendezvous point to meet up, to catch up with their planet, to get back and take resources back, and they would use Mars as a way station. Now, so we, at one particular time, Enlil had gone off to wherever these people go. They go away for, you know, hundreds of years at a time sometimes. He came back and saw us building this tower, and it upset him so much that he had to destroy this tower. And he said in the modern day Bible, and he says it also in the Sumerian tablets, which is really predating the Bible anyway, that whatever man sets his mind to do or sets his heart to do, he still accomplish it. He realized at that moment, this is Yahweh speaking. He realized at that moment, like, these humans, man, they're not dumb. Like, whatever we did to them, it didn't work. Like, they are really capable of not only catching up to us, but maybe even surpassing us. And there's so many of them, they outnumber us. And with these numbers, you know, they can literally overthrow us and become our rulers. So right away, the action he thought in his mind was, I got to destroy this tower. The next thing he says is, my seed shall not abide a man forever, his years shall be 120. Okay, so what happens when you go to the Harvard study that was just done a couple of years ago? They discovered that under the most pristine conditions, a human being can only live to what? 120 years. Okay, now what they did was they took chromosome number 2 out and they fused it together and they put 2 telomere caps on each end of chromosome number 2 to shorten our lifespan. In those telomere caps, there's genetic material that it's like a buffer material. So every time your DNA and cells replicate, it's there so that you don't lose anything in translation for the next DNA and the next cells and so forth, because your body's always changing consistently all the time. It changes out every 6 years totally. But what happens is this genetic buffer material in the telomere caps, it runs out. So when it runs out, that's when your body starts the death process. So before we were living for thousands of years, and when you realize, oh, they're living too long, they're getting too smart. This is competition. I got to shorten their years, just keep them as grunt workers, let them do what we follow our orders, and then they die out before they can get too smart, and then they got the next generation coming and so forth and so on. So this is where it goes. So then what he did was he took us and he split us up and put us all around the planet. So he took all these people, which are primarily mostly black people, and split us up all over the planet. This is how we got all over the planet. And then also changed our language. And the Bible says confused our languages, but he changed all the languages so that we couldn't communicate properly with each other. And so now we became people that couldn't communicate, which means we became people who were in competition with each other. And we started fighting each other instead of fighting the real enemy. So this was the system that was put into place so many thousands of years ago to take black people who were becoming technologically advanced, becoming too smart, living for thousands of years, shorten their lifespan, split them up, put them all over the planet, change all their languages, and then basically, so to speak, kind of abandon them there with new kings and rulers, putting them to work in those areas. So this is how far back it goes. So the oppression literally started because we were too smart. We were too smart for our own good, and we were looked at as competition, and that's what happened.
Who's the Anunnaki? Who's the Anunnaki?
The Anunnaki is a generalized term. It really is a term for people who are coming from another place, another planet. So you have the Nomos, according to the Dogon tribe in Mali, Africa. They were the original people that lived in the land of Kem. They then migrated out after Kem got overthrown. They left and went to Mali, Africa. But they were visited by the Nomos from Sirius B. This is well-documented history. That's the Anunnaki race. You have Anunnaki that have come down from the Orion. You have Anunnaki that have come down from the Pleiades. You have Anunnaki that have come here from Nibiru, according to the Enuma Elish. So it's various different places that these beings are coming from. And the reason why they're coming from all these different star systems, if you look real ancient, you'll discover that there was an ancient war in the Pleiadian star cluster. It's mentioned even in the Bible, the Seven Sisters. I forgot the name of the book, Illard's. There's a book about it as well, but it's a Greek book. But it'll come back to me in a second. Homer's Iliad. You can look that up as well.
I'm
but
sorry,
this
brother.
galactic war, you can look it up. There was a galactic war in the Pleiadian star cluster. This galactic war, they had these planet-sized weapons, these Brahma weapons that would destroy planets. When you have that happen, you have a lot of massive debris, like we had in our solar system when Tiamat exploded and became the asteroid belt. People had to clear out of here for a while. So these refugees were fleeing out of the Pleiades and going to the Orion, going to the Sirius star system, and various other star systems. Some ended up, in my opinion, crash landing on this Nibiru planet, which orbits a brown dwarf star, which we being the space agencies have just discovered it now, 2 years ago. They've named it Planet 9. It's inside of our solar. It's a captured solar system in our solar system, just outside the orbit of Pluto, but inside the inner Oort cloud. They're calling it the inner Oort cloud region, and it orbits our sun every 4,200 years. Very similar to what the ancient text already says. So they've already discovered it and and now it's going into the history book. So it's not like a myth anymore. Man. But the thing is, so these wars is what spread these beings all over the star systems, and then they began to visit this solar system because there's a lot of resources here that were literally untapped. And I believe that when they got to Earth, they discovered that we were here as various different types of hominids, and our bones of our cousins have been found all over this planet, but that we were more in tune, more advanced spiritually, not technologically. And we had bigger brains, in my opinion, bigger pineal glands. All of our DNA was connected, no junk DNA. Probably can even speak telepathically. We're more in tune with the human resonant frequency of the planet and everything else. They genetically modified us and turned us into a worker-slave race, Homo sapiens sapien. They didn't make human beings. They didn't say, I'm going to make a human being from dust. They literally took an egg out of an existing hominid, cleaned out the genetic material, added some of the genetic material from themselves, reinserted it back into one of the Anunnaki females, who then took it on 10-month term and gave birth to the first Adamu, which is a well-documented cylinder scroll that's at the British Museum in England. And she holds him up and she says, my hands have created it. But what it is a genetically modified hominid turned into a Homo sapien. So it's a really big story. But these are the beings that came here, and they're called the Anunnaki. You can call them also the Atlanteans. They reference themselves as the sons of Atlantis. The Sumerians call them the Anunnaki. The Bible calls them the Anak. So it's well documented throughout history.
If humanity is nothing but an enslaved race, and they say we didn't learn a lesson, so that's why we have to come back to repeat it, why is this so appealing to other entities? If this is so bad, it seems as though this shit that's so bad, it seems so good to people who aren't human.
Yeah. The thing about these beings is, they're sentient beings, and one thing that they talk about, they actually say in the text that they're going to be cursed by the creator of all for what they've done to this planet and to the people, to these humans. They themselves recognize that there's a God, there's a creator, there's a source energy, there's a divine energy out there that has some say-so in the end, according to them. So what happened was, when you come to an area there's no law, there's no written law, there's nobody to enforce any kind of law. you leave from where you are, let's say, you know, in the Wild Wild West, and you go to you go to the Wild Wild West, and you know in your mind what's right and what's wrong, and what laws you have from the place you came from. But when you get to Texas, and there's no police department, you know, there's no security cameras, there's none of this stuff going on, and now you just say, you know, this guy crossing, we're just gonna kill him. Nobody's gonna know. You know, I don't even have to bury this guy. Once you start to realize you can do these kind of things and get away with it, you begin to develop this God complex, and I don't care complex. Oh. Just like, you know, they did in Germany when they were killing a lot of the Jews. You know, they began to get this complex where like, it's just another avatar. Just throw them on the pile. Same thing they did with black people with the slave trade and everything else. So you get this when nobody's there to stop you. You get this God complex, like you're untouchable and you rule over, you're supposed to rule over, and you're supposed to dominate and kill and destroy and everything else. So they started off with rules, and then they slightly started breaking one rule after another and started questioning each other about the rules that they were breaking. And then it got to a point where they were like, F it. And it just went crazy. You know, so that's what happened, man. They really just, and they installed this system a long time ago. If you read William Bramley's book called The Gods of Eden, amazing book. It talks about even how they installed inflation and everything else all the way back thousands of years ago and still persists to this current day. So all this stuff has been set up and installed on us. See, these beings, they're so smart and intelligent. They don't think like we think. We literally thinking for what we're going to do next weekend. We're thinking about, okay, the weekend's coming. I got this much money on my paycheck. I can do this, this, and this. And I'm going to go to this concert or whatever. I'm going to have a little fun. I'm going to go to the beach. And then hopefully I got money left over on Monday to pay some of these bills. I'm going to juggle this for that and this for that. These beings ain't thinking week to week like human beings are thinking right here. Right. They're thinking by the millenniums. They're thinking 2 and 3 millenniums down the road. Wow. Just like Rothschild and Rockefeller. They don't think about 50 years, 20 years, 100 years. They're thinking 100, 500, 1,000, 2,000 years from now. That's how they think. That's why they're worth $700 trillion. And they got all that. They inherited the kingdom directly from Amun-Ra because they were the Ra-Kam. Their deep, deep bloodline going all the way back was the Ra-Kam, or the offspring of, which translates into Rothschilds. So from 6,000 years ago, they were handed that. But that's a whole nother show. But anyway, but what I'm saying is these beings, they think deep in the future. So they install this system on us that still persists to this current day. And there's only one way for us to overthrow this system, and we can do it. We can do it. But the problem is, it's the infighting. You're black, you're white, you're black, and I don't like you. You're light-skinned black, and you're dark-skinned black, and you're Spanish, and we're fighting each other over all this stupid stuff. We're fighting each other.
Billy, your audio cut out. Billy, your audio cut out. Family, can you hear his audio at this point? Billy. Oh, did I press something? Unmute. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Education, YouTubers. I'm trying. I see numbers on these houses back in here. I see 222 at the top.
This is crazy. Billy Carson, are you there, my brother?
You got to 288. You got to come down and go on your left, on down the private drive.
You got to go all the way back, all the way down.
You come all the way down the private drive.
I think he put us on hold, family. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on right now. Billy Carson, are you there, my brother?
Yeah. You there?
Yeah.
That was okay. Where did we leave off?
I'm not sure. You cut out.
Man,
I'm not sure exactly where it stopped and where it began. I'm not sure, but I'm just glad you didn't get cut off completely.
Yeah, it said that you had muted me, or said the host muted.
I didn't. I mean, my hand wasn't by my computer at all. So
okay, that's weird. Yeah,
could have possibly muted you.
Yeah,
but you were talking about the infighting, and you're black, you're light skinned, and this and that. And then a little bit after that, then I couldn't hear you anymore. After you started talking about the infighting.
Right. So with the infighting that happened, give me one quick second. So with the infighting that happened, it got us battling each other when we should be fighting the enemy. So there's 390 million Americans, and out of that 390 million Americans, there are 190 million adults, which there's about 130 million or so that are actually working. So even if only 20 million of those 130 million workers decided to say, no, we're not going to go to work on Monday. We're not going to pay our mortgage payments. We're not going to pay our car payments. We're not going to pay taxes. And matter of fact, we're going to go take all of our money out of the bank on Monday. If we did that on Monday, every 20 million out of all those people just did that on a Monday, the system would collapse in one day. The whole system would collapse. You see, no need to go to war, no need to fight, no need to attack people and have pickets and run through the streets rioting. Just say no. But you see, we can't get to that point yet because we don't have enough unity at this moment. We're still fighting each other. Right. Let's grab something real quick. Sorry about this, guys. It's going to get dark for 1 second.
Okay. Family, in the meantime, make sure you donate to the Cash App. I don't see enough of y'all hitting that Cash App up, y'all. For your support independent media. Hit up the Cash App, family. I want to thank everybody in the chat room, though, right now. We got about 1,200 people in the chat room right now. That's pretty good. So Billy Carson's first time on here, 1,200 people watching right now at 11 at night on the Eastern time. So I want to thank everybody in the chat room. With that being said, Billy Carson, are you there? I think the brother still got us on hold. Hello? Yeah. You're not clear no more. I think you might be moving around too much. You're not clear.
Yeah, I had to get
okay, I hear you now.
Somebody trying to find the house, but they got lost.
Okay, I hear you now. Yeah, you're clear now.
Okay, good. Yeah, man. So that's what's going on, man.
Indeed. So listen, I definitely want to get into this book, your book. Mm-hmm. And that's what led us here. I shouted out your book. I bought it. And
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
I enjoyed it. It was it was a top 2 read for me this year. I got a top 3. I got 3 good books this year. You know what's funny? Damn, this is synchronicity. Wow, Billy. I got all 3 books, my top 3 books of the year in front of me right now. And I didn't even plan it like that. I swear I didn't plan it like that. Wow. Let me tell y'all, family. Billy Carson, Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, a beginner's guide. Green cover with the Tahuti. He has Tahuti on the cover.
Yeah.
Another one that I told you is completely sold out. You can't get it nowhere. Keys to Inner Space by Lehman Heisey. The 3rd book I got is available everywhere. The Infinite Minefield, The Quest to Find the Gateway to Higher Consciousness by Anthony Peake. So those are my 3 favorite books so far this year in the month of August. So far, these 3 right here that I picked up this year, they have been my favorite, and I'm glad to have one of my favorite authors this year on the line with me today. So make sure you support him. Like I said, if you enjoy this interview, go to Amazon and get Compendium of the Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson. Amazing read, family. I promise you, you won't regret it. And it actually is going to take you to another frequency. And me and Billy's about to get deep into frequency, vibration, and all that right now. It will literally take you to another frequency where you won't be the same. I haven't been the same since I read the book. So I definitely advise everybody to get the book. With that being said, Billy Carson, listen, my brother, you said some interesting, controversial things in the book about Tahuti. One being that he had a regeneration chamber and he lived for thousands of years and he had many lives and he was able to transfer his consciousness into other bodies. One thing you said about you said that the Jesus that we know about may have been a reincarnation of Tahuti. You said earlier in the program that the original Sphinx had to face a Tahuti. I read that it was astrological. That's why I had the lion on it. It was an astrological thing. And it was about that, the astrological sign Leo or something like that. So you said some things that I haven't heard before. And I'm sure a lot of people haven't heard before. So talk to me about this book, my brother, that can come. I hope I'm saying it right. The Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. And how did you come up with all this information, my brother?
Yeah, you're saying the name right. Compendium. The word compendium means a culmination. So what I've done is I was reading the Emerald Tablets for many years, and I was just like blown away by the information and the content in these Emerald Tablets, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. And, you know, as I started to talk to other people about the Emerald Tablets, a lot of people were really trying to read them and digest them and understand them. But it was, to them, it was almost just like reading verses out of the Bible. A lot of them couldn't really digest all the information, a lot of the esoteric wisdom, knowledge, and the metaphysics. And I also saw technology in there and quantum physics and quantum mechanics. And I was like, whoa, this is deep stuff. So when I realized that a lot of people were struggling with it, and only a handful of people I had talked to were really able to understand some of the concepts, I started really digging into the history of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. And I realized that other people had come across this, very studious scholars, and had come up with, you know, even some of them were inspired to write their own books about the Emerald Tablets, or kind of veered off from that to write a book kind of using that concept or that esoteric wisdom. But nobody wanted to really dig into a lot of the other aspects of what was hidden in there. So I said, I need to write a book about this and expose this to the world so people can really get a great understanding of really what's being said here, the truth about what's going on, and the vast knowledge and wisdom that's contained in here. And, you know, and I still missed a lot. I mean, it's just mind blowing. So that's why I wrote the book Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. And as I began to dig into it, I realized that there was so much that I had already researched and studied that was getting confirmation in these tablets. So for me, it was easy for me to make the correlation, because all my years of research and investigation and all my travels and everything else were now being confirmed what I was reading in these Emerald Tablets. And when I started realizing that the words of Yeshua in the modern day King James Bible, or the modern day any version Bible where Yeshua is speaking, were matching up to what was being said by Yehudi thousands, tens of thousands of years ago, then I realized that Yeshua, who's also known as quote unquote Jesus, was a student of this ancient God. And, you know, so people say, oh, Jesus didn't exist. Well, kind of. Now, Jesus himself, the word Jesus is a fake name, number one. It means hail Zeus. But Yeshua was a real person. Yeshua was a real person that did exist and physically walked around in an avatar body, who was part Annunaki, and also was a student of the Egyptian mysteries and lived in Egypt. I was in the house where he lived. It's a shrine now. He then left there. If you read the Gospel of the Holy 12, it's a very hard to find book. It's out of production. I had to pay $650 for these scriptures. He left out of Egypt and went to India, and also went to Tibet. He wanted to learn the mystic arts and Reiki healing with his hands and many other esoteric knowledge and wisdom. And he was teaching reincarnation. And the book of his Yeshua's wife is on display at Harvard University. And he got married. He actually got married and most likely had children. So the Merovingian bloodline is still on the planet today. So, but when I started seeing the correlations between that and the correlation between what DARPA and our military is doing technologically, and the correlation between the Emerald Tablets and metaphysics and quantum physics and different sciences and stuff, I said, wow, I got to write a book about this. So that's what I did. I set out to write a book about it, and it's blowing people's minds. It's like, you know, the correlations in there are just astounding, and I'm really looking forward to making a volume 3.
Oh man, that'd be awesome. That'd definitely be awesome. Now, you know, when we think about Tahuti, we think about so a lot of people think about Hermes Trismegistus. How do you say that?
Trismegistus. Hermes Trismegistus, thrice born.
Right. So we think about we think about like the law of vibration, or what in modern terms we call the law of attraction, and or the 7 hermetic laws of the universe. And I think about individuals like Abraham, let's say Abraham Hicks, who is an absolute monster when it comes to the law of attraction. Or let's say about Bashar. And I forgot the gentleman who, Bashar is the entity, and the gentleman who channels him, Daryl Anka or something like that.
Yeah.
But these individuals, their information is very similar to the information in your book, or it's very similar to the information as far as the 7 hermetic laws in the universe or the laws of Tahuti. Even the documentary The Secret is extremely similar to what you're talking about or what you deal with on a daily basis. Is this the same is this the same collective entity coming in different names?
It is. See, we're living in a fractal holographic universe. So fractals don't just have to do with physical matter. Fractals can also is really mostly consciousness. So consciousness is also a fractal because consciousness creates what we consider to be physical or reality. So the original consciousness of this Tahuti, Thoth, Hermes, Quetzalcoatl, Lord Pakal, whatever you want to call him, Kukulkan. I mean, the names are, Mercury, the names are enormous. But this entity over the many eons has put forth out information, and it is literally has gone out into the universe. And because a thought, once it's thought, it's an electromagnetic wave that goes out into space-time, it's out there permanently. It never dissipates. And if you're on the right frequency, you can pick up my thought and download it and think that you got an idea to create or invent or something else. But it could be a thought that's already, most likely, in my opinion, it is already a thought that was already floating around. But this entity's mind was so powerful and so strong, and still is, I believe, that it's emanating this information consistently from the source, and people are getting on the frequency and actually downloading it. And when people hear things like downloading information, they go, this sounds too magical or mystical. Actually, it's real science. This is why one of the reasons that it allowed me to get as big as I'm getting is because I always back things up with real science. Right. DNA is a storage medium. In other words, it's a hard drive. It's already been scientifically proven. George Church is a scientist, and I think his name is Ray Shorey. They took an ebook and downloaded it from a computer onto 1 gram of DNA, and they realized, wow. So then they replicated it 80 billion times onto the DNA, storing 433 petabytes of data. Huh?
You said, I've heard you say, I don't mean to cut you off. You said 700 terabytes on 1 gram of DNA. I heard you say that before? Yeah. Yeah, okay, go ahead. 700
terabytes on 1 gram of DNA, but then they've maximized that now to 433 petabytes of data. So,
wow.
So they've really maxed it out. So now what they found out, so they connected the DNA to a physical hard drive, uploading and downloading data, zeros and ones. They realized that a human body can store an enormous amount of data. Matter of fact, a human body can store 13.5 billion years of data, which ironically is the same age as the universe. So your body has the history of the entire universe inside of it. Now, they've also analyzed DNA further and realized it sends and receives information wirelessly. So DNA is sending consistently and receiving consistently, upload, download consistently. This is real peer-reviewed science. This isn't my guess or a hypothesis or whatever. This is real peer-reviewed science. So what's happening is, if you're on the right frequency with anything, the right matching frequency, you synchronize with that information or that source, and your DNA literally downloads it into your body, and then it becomes part of your thought consciousness. So this is real science. Matter of fact, Microsoft just created the first DNA hard drive. This is going to make things like teleportation possible now, because the only thing that was stopping us from doing teleportation was being able to store trillions of atoms, spin rate and location at the same time, to put it back in the same exact XYZ location on the other end. But now with DNA hard drives, it's a piece of cake. So we're going to be doing teleportations here within the next 10 years. It's going to be amazing. We're teleporting now atoms and molecules. Soon it'll be much more complex things like actual physical objects, and also maybe even some small biological objects as well. Amazing. So it's all about storage space.
Billy, do we see the actual what we call the world? And I definitely want. I'm about to get into this fractal idea in a second. Do we see what I'm seeing right now? I'm seeing I have a MacBook Pro, and I see you on my screen, and on the right side on the corner it says Zoom. On the left side on the corner it says Billy Carson. On the top left it says YouTube, and on the right, the middle right, it has the chat room. Am I seeing when you did like this is a biological avatar? This is an advanced machine we're using, our spirit, our soul. Am I seeing this, or am I projecting this? Because according to David Icke in his book, our brain takes our vibration, it converts it into digital information, ones and twos, and then the left side of our brain creates a so-called holographic reality. So am I seeing this, or am I projecting this from the inside of my brain that's getting it from mainly my heart that generates feelings or emotions?
Yeah, you're projecting everything, and we were all projecting. Matter of fact, you're talking to me right now, but you're not really talking to me. You're talking to yourself.
Talking to myself.
See?
Wow.
Talking to yourself. You see, the only thing that truly exists in the third dimension is consciousness.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
And so, you know, there's only one consciousness. There's only one divine source. And what's happened is that divine energy has split itself up into multi-Googles of entities all throughout the entire universe to experience itself subjectively from every different type of manifestation that can possibly exist in the third dimension. Even from a blade of grass, even from a rock, even from an atom that's inside of the laptop the MacBook you got right there. It's experiencing itself subjectively. And because of as above, so below, you can say, well, let's see, can we correlate that same type of a system to our own self in a smaller scale? Well, what does a human being do? An avatar body. A light being inhabits an avatar body to animate it. But then what happens is, your brain, which is encased in total darkness, can't even see or know or feel, hear or touch or smell anything going on the outside. It has no capability of getting that information, but it has friends, all your five senses. So it talks to the nose, it talks to the hands, it talks to everything, the ears, and it says, go out there and collect me some information. Bring me back digital bits of data. So your senses go out, what we call touching into the third dimension, collect data and information, and bring it back to the brain in case of total darkness. The brain takes that information, but the friends themselves who collected the information, they can't even decipher what they've collected. They just know that they've got information, digital bits of information to bring back to the brain. They give it to their friend, the brain. The brain then sorts it all out and creates a hologram and projects a hologram as to what's going on the outside, and you navigate through this holographic matrix based off of that hologram. The only thing that's out here are electromagnetic waves and consciousness, which is really from the waves, the waves are from the consciousness, and we're navigating through this holographic matrix based off of holographic projections. And that's really what's going on. So matter is an illusion. As a matter of fact, there's 7.5 billion people on Earth. If I were to take away all the empty space in between the atoms in each body, I can fit all 7.5 billion people into a sugar cube. All 7.5 billion people. So
what?
Matter is an illusion. Yeah.
What?
This is an illusion. Yeah.
What?
It's real science.
What?
Check it out. Yeah.
Brother, let me talk for our people. You sound crazy by saying that, my brother. Please explain that, because I know that goes into the fractal aspect of what you deal with. Yeah. Yeah. Atoms are mostly empty space. Okay. And the way that this third dimension operates, it operates on something called the Mandelbrot Stick, discovered by Benoit Mandelbrot. It wasn't invented by him. We only rediscover everything. There's no such thing as an invention in this day and age. Everything is a rediscovery. Right, but he discovered a very simple mathematical equation, that governs the progression of what we consider to be solid matter in real time. Just like in a video game, when the next screen needs to appear, the video game creates that next screen. It doesn't exist there on the screen until you move to that side or that left or that right or up or down, and then the game automatically creates that next frame. So in our reality, scientists have found out, theoretical physicists and scientists that are involved in supersymmetry, like Professor James S. Gates, have discovered that the ether of our space-time itself operates off of something called Adinkra codes, which ironically the Dogon have known about for tens of thousands of years and have been passed down in their oral history. These codes are error-correcting codes, the same exact codes that are found in search engine browsers and websites. So the same codes that we use in search engine browsers and websites, here we go, as above, so below again, are the same exact codes that operate or create the reality or operate this spatial dimension that we're inhabiting right now with our avatar bodies. So now what's happening with the Mandelbrot set is it's really showing that we're in a fractal system. And what that means is if you look at a hologram and you take a small piece of a hologram away and look at it, you'll see the entire image of the hologram, whatever it is, you see it in the smallest piece that you took away. The only thing you're going to lose is resolution. Right. Something called pixelation. Right. So
we ourselves are living in a fractal holographic universe, and scientists have now discovered this by going through electron microscopes and looking deeper and deeper and deeper into matter, and discovering that there's a fractal pattern that goes not only through infinity, but it's an entire copy of the whole. And the deeper you go, the only thing you lose is resolution, and when you get to what they call pixelation. So the fact that we're living in a holographic universe is not even a mystery anymore. So when people say, oh, you know, you're crazy, God created the universe. No, I'm not crazy. I'm saying the same thing you're saying, just in a different technological way. I'm saying that if you believe in a creator of this universe, that's this God figure, okay? Some people call it the universe, some people call it God, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. What's true is the ancients were right. We are living in a creation. I'm explaining to you the method used to create this reality. The method is a fractal holographic universe. And it would be very, very easy to do this. So if you look at a video game called No Man's Sky, it's a disc, goes into a game console. It runs completely off the Mandelbrot Stick, which is what our universe runs off of. It has 80 billion planets, and each planet is inhabited by an unlimited amount of species, animals, and people. And the game is a never-ending game. It was created by 14 college students, and this game literally created a whole nother universe on the size of a disc. Look at the Sims video game. The Sims video game is where you have people in there, they go to work, they get married, they have babies, they have parties, they go to clubs. All this stuff goes on in the Sims. They have pets. But the Sims are going to be conscious in the next 5 to 8 years with AI technology. So now scientists have come to the realization that the Sims are going to become conscious in a video game. They're going to start asking the same questions we're asking. Who's our God? Where did we come from? Who created this? What was our Big Bang? Well, the Big Bang is when we turn on the game console. That's the Big Bang for them. And they then themselves, how long will it take before they create a game or a program that creates a universe inside of their universe? You see, so we're living in a multi-layered universe. We're living in a multiverse, and the odds that we're at base reality are probably 10 trillion to 1. We're probably so far away from base reality, that's not even funny. There's probably Googles of universes above us, created all from ancestor civilizations. And this has probably been going on for an upteen Google of years. I keep using that word Google because Google is a number. People don't know that. If you don't know that Google is an actual number, it's a number that's so big, the zeros would run down your block and around the corner several times. But so this is what's happening. So we're living in a fractal holographic universe where this simple Mandelbrot set mathematical equation helps to create the next frame of information. So what this really means is when I'm not looking at something, it doesn't even exist as a solid item. If you're at work and you're not at home, your home is just an electromagnetic wave. The only thing that collapses that wave into a structure that you can recognize as your house is your conscious observation combined with frequency and vibration, which slows down the vibration of those atoms and then creates this illusion of matter that you call in your house in the third dimension. And
is what you're describing, is that what we, as soon as we study quantum physics, is that what we call the double slit experiment?
Right. The double slit experiment is a very good example of this. This is how we started to discover that consciousness literally helps to create reality. So scientists took this box, and in this little box, they put this cardboard paper in there, and they put 2 microscopic slits in there, and they put a little tiny thing in the back of it that was shooting out individual particles. And they were interested to see how the pattern it would make on the back wall inside that box. Now, when these particles were being shot through, these little slits, they were creating a wave pattern. In other words, interference pattern on the back wall. And they were going, wait a minute, how can individual particles create a wave pattern? Right. That means that they're not particles, they're waves. This is really interesting. So then they said, okay, we got to watch this thing happen. So they put a little camera down there and they started to experiment it again. What happened was when they were looking, just with a camera, this is how smart the universe is. It realized it was being looked at, so it collapsed back into particles and created a digital pattern on the back wall, which should have been in the first place if we really understood the universe. In our mind, it should have been digital the first time. But no, it wasn't. We weren't looking. It was a wave. When we were looking, it became digital matter. You see? So digital particles. So we have to understand that the act of conscious observation changes the way the universe appears. So our consciousness literally we co-create reality. We're literally all co-creating reality. So we don't create reality singularly, but collectively we do. But we also have something else called a reality tunnel. And that's where things like the law of attraction work for us, and other parts of like the way that we experience things and the way that we control our lives and the way we move forward and our goals, desires, and wants and needs and everything else. But collectively, we help to create reality. We're part co-creators. This is why when I tell people they are God and they don't understand it, they need to research more quantum mechanics and quantum physics, and they'll realize that the same divine energy that's out there and the same powers that are out there are inside their body. And they have that same power that's on the outside. They just have to learn how to tap into it.
Right. I think a lot of people don't understand our multi-dimensional nature. So when they say we are not God, they are just looking at the biological avatar and they're saying, how can this biological avatar be God when they don't understand it's being animated by light, by photon light? So I think that's where they get a little confused at. Talk to me, what role does junk DNA have to do with this whole multi-dimensional process, our multi-dimensional nature, what we call junk DNA?
Yeah, listen, man, that's a good question. You know, a lot of people don't realize in mainstream science, I've talked to some real doctors and stuff, and they're still so programmed, like, oh yeah, junk DNA, this is just, old remnants of, stuff that we don't even need to use. And I'm like, nah, man. This is all connected. This used to be connected in ancient times, like super antiquity. Like this junk wasn't junk. It was we were using all that stuff. If you look at animals, wild animals, if there's a tsunami coming inland, they know about that tsunami long before it arrives. They go run to the hills or the mountains. They don't get washed away.
You always talk about the magnetite. You do, yeah.
Right. So, humans, we have the crystal magnetite in our brains. We're not tapping into that. And that will synchronize with what we call junk DNA. And we'll be able to tap into other frequencies, energies, sense the earth better, have better intuition. Our spiritual antenna will be better connected, which is our third eye and everything else, all through the junk DNA, which has been disconnected by the Annunaki people. They disconnected us when they created Homo sapiens sapien because they wanted to dumb us down and keep us at a specific level to where we only can follow their orders, their rules, and do what they tell us to do and duplicate and replicate ourselves. And that's all they wanted us to do. They didn't want us to be able to tap into higher realms of consciousness, multidimensional thought processes. That was too much for them. So they disconnected us. So the animals, what we do when the tsunami comes, we stand in the ocean. We get washed away. Because why? We've been disconnected. We're not aware of what's going on around in our surroundings. We have to wait for visual observation and confirmation before we act. We don't have that intuition level anymore. Some of us don't. The intuition has been removed and taken away. But where's all that come from? It comes from the quote unquote junk DNA, which is not junk. It's been disconnected on purpose. Not only was it disconnected, but then the scientists have now found out that a worship gene was inserted into the human genome. About how long ago? About 200,000 years ago. So we've been made prone to worship. We've been chromosome number 2 taken out, fused together, telomere caps put on the ends to shorten our lifespan and spread out all over the planet. It's been a plan that's been going on and implemented many thousands of years ago. And it's really unfortunate, but the junk DNA and the parts of our brain that we don't use anymore is not because it's just there to be wasted. It's there because it used to work in the ancient past, and it's been literally purposefully disconnected.
Indeed.
They want to keep reaching higher realms of consciousness.
So is it safe to say when we pray in modern times, it's 2019, when we pray, let's say I'm Christian and I pray to God, Yahweh, I'm Islamic and I pray to Allah, or if I'm Jewish or I'm into Judaism and I pray to I'm not sure who they pray to. Is that us praying to the Anunnaki because they wanted us to stay enslaved?
You're praying directly to the Anunnaki, the Atlanteans. You're not praying to any god.
But they okay, go ahead, brother.
This is the biggest problem we have, because the people don't realize that these prayers that they're putting out, even the Lord's Prayer, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth, so forth and so on. I know all this stuff by heart. That's all praying to Enki, Ptah. Okay, so there is a creator God. I believe that, and I believe that because quantum physics proves that there's a creator God, somebody or some entity or maybe entities created this realm. To me, there's no question in my mind. The evidence is in the mathematics. But what I'm telling people is that the people that they're praying to in these books, they masqueraded as gods. They tricked people. They tricked people at the highest level. And they got people for these last tens of thousands of years praying to these and worshiping these beings that weren't gods at all. So what's happened is it's been passed down for so many generations. We've been programmed into thinking that it's worshiping and praying some type of a God figure. And what's really happening is you're giving all that frequency energy over to archons. You're giving that frequency energy over to deceivers. And the true reality is you're praying to the ultimate evil, because that's what they did. They were the ultimate evil people. They destroyed people. They killed people. When there were too many humans around, and Lil would what they call cull the humans. They would do mass killings. They would spray this poison over crops and dry crops out. This is all in the Sumerian tablets. So these people were evil, evil people. I mean, they started so many wars. There were wars against each other. That's all in the book of Deuteronomy. All these battles and all these wars using humans as chattel to go and copy and to go and kill and rob and steal and rape and everything else. And it was just, it's a nightmare, So they really that's who you're praying to. When you say amen, you're giving thanks to Amun-Ra, one of the most brutal rulers of all time, Marduk, and you don't even know it. So this is why prayers have no power. People, like I say in my lectures, they get lucky. You get lucky. You'll pray for somebody who's gotten into a car accident and that person recovers, and you go, oh, the prayers worked. But if that person dies, then you blame the doctor or you blame the person that ran them over. You see the duality in that? It's so nonsensical to me. Now, prayers will work if you know how to pray. This is the biggest thing that people don't know. And the reason why you don't know is because a lot of people have never been taught how to pray. If you go to the East, then you'll learn what prayer really is. For example, like I talk about in my lectures, there's this one video, Greg Brayton, a phenomenal speaker on conscious content, went over to China, and he went to this homeopathic healing hospital. In the hospital, there's no medicine. There's no needles. They have sonograms and they have doctors that come over you and they chant. They say a prayer over your body. This one woman is there on live screen with a tumor in her bladder on the screen in real time. As they're chanting this prayer, you see the tumor literally disintegrate and disappear. And this is in real time. She's not in any pain. She's not screaming. She's not crying. She's totally fine. Greg Brayton in the end says, hey, man, what is this prayer you guys are saying? The prayer goes, whoop, cha, whoop, cha, whoop, cha. And they say it like 1,000 times. Well, the prayer means it's done. It is done. That's the prayer. So he goes, wow, that's amazing, because we can't heal like that, in America. A lot of these, obviously, that doesn't work. These fake evangelists out there. And the guy goes, you guys don't know how to pray over there in the West. You don't know how to pray. You're asking and begging for something to happen. Over here, we just say it's already completed. And that's really what the prayer is. They understand the power that's inside of them already. They understand the God, divine energy already inside their body, and how to enact it, how to invoke it, and how to use that, cast the right spell, which is really a frequency, uttering a right frequency through the vocal cords, which has a direct effect on the ether of space-time itself. And when you pray from a position of power, because the universe is powerful, and the universal consciousness is powerful. So you want to operate in the law of attraction and healing and vibration, you have to come with a high frequency. If you come with a low frequency, oh, please help me. Oh, God, I don't know what to do. I can't pay my bills. I'm sick and my son is injured and help, please, please. That is a low frequency vibration. And that's not me thinking that. That's scientifically proven. Scientists have put the cap on the human brain and have tested out different mindsets of people and actually recorded the frequency that's emitted by the brain and the DNA. So this is real peer-reviewed science. So they've discovered that low frequency vibration in fear, regret, begging, and all these kind of things, low frequency. High frequency is I command. So I command my reality. When I got on the plane this morning to come to where I'm at now in Ohio, I commanded that I arrive at my destination safely. I command that all my bills be met and paid in a timely fashion. I command that my income is enough to sustain my needs. I command that that my clothing and everything else that I need will arrive at the time needed. These are the types of prayers what you're supposed to be doing. Not
Billy,
begging, hoping, and wishing, but commanding into reality.
Billy, that seems arrogant to a lot of people
That's what people need
and
to understand.
people who have been indoctrinated by religion. We're taught to be humble. So when you talk like that, you sound like Floyd Mayweather. You sound like Muhammad Ali to them. It's like, nigga, what are you talking about? You're not supposed to talk like that to God. Talk about that. The whole humble.
See, they don't understand. They've been so brainwashed. Their minds have been so twisted. The biggest problem with religion, it's all about fear. Okay. Ask any religious person, what's going to happen if they don't follow these rules? I'm going to die and burn in a lake of fire eternally. I'm not going to go to heaven. So it's all fear-based. No matter how much they want to say they love this Jesus and they love this God and they love, the true hidden reality is called self-preservation is why they're involved. They're involved for self-preservation. No matter what they want to try to tell you, no matter how they want to cry and crocodile tears and they want to, vibrate and all that stuff is fake. And the true reality, it's all about they're afraid that they're going to die in a lake of fire or they're not going to make it to heaven. And that's why they're involved in these religions. That's the true reality of it.
Yes, sir.
But when they realize that hell was added to the Bible, when they find out that the rapture was added to the Bible by William James Darby, 1835, and hell, the dates have all the information is available for this content, but nobody wants to research it. When they realize that all the biblical information is copied from ancient texts and been poorly translated, and they've been lied to and tricked, and they realize that the true divinity lies inside of them, and that their own book even says, you are God, and that you're supposed to perform bigger miracles than I, and you're supposed to go out there and heal people. But nobody wants to hear that part because they're thinking, how am I going to go out there and heal people? How am I supposed to perform these miracles? Because you're supposed to command it. You're supposed to stand up and understand the power is already inside of you. The energy is already inside of you. You're the one who's commanding things into existence and on a daily basis. And how do human beings manifest things into existence? I'll give you a very easy idea. Okay, let's look. We got a bottle of water here. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Somebody had to think about the container, this bottle. So in this person's mind, they thought about this bottle. I want to contain water. I need to contain it in something. I know. I have an idea. I want to contain it inside this object that looks like this. So they perceived it in their mind, which is on the consciousness platform. This is a platform, like you have a platform on computers, consciousness platform. They took it from the consciousness platform and they talked to a CAD designer. That CAD designer then put it into a two-dimensional platform inside of a computer. And then that two-dimensional platform then went over to an engineer who then turned it into a three-dimensional object in physical reality. So it went from the consciousness platform into third-dimensional reality. We create and manifest 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with God power, God energy, but we don't even realize it. We take it for granted. We think, oh, this is supposed to be here. No, man, this is a manifestation from thought. See, everything is here from thought. And this is what people need to understand. There's true power in understanding the thought and understanding how to vocalize and create realities.
Billy Carson, I can't hear you no more, my brother. Oh man, what happened to the brother?
I'm sorry, hold on one second. My phone was falling. Can you hear me?
I hear you now. I hear you now.
Okay, yeah.
Yes,
so okay, great. So people need to understand that the manifestation is the power of manifestation is inside of them. And it's not about being egotistical or cocky or anything else. It's understanding you got to come with power and energy. That's a high vibration, confidence and power. Okay. Another simple thing I tell people, if you're going to go to a busy, crowded mall or a place where it's hard to find parking, before you leave your house, think about 3 or 4 parking spots. Literally think about it in your mind, envision them, physically, like really see them. And then say out loud, when I get to my destination, there will be parking spots opening or coming available for me in a reasonable amount of time. And when you get there, people contact me all the time. Oh my God, I can't believe it worked. If you say it and you really think it and you visualize it and then you speak it and believe it, that when you get there confidently, not like, oh man, I hope this really works. Confidently believe it. When you get there, you'll have a parking spot. You know, there's a lot of ways to test your power. You know, calling elevators. I mean, there's so many different simple things and the simple third reality thing, 3D reality things you can do. But the power is in the people, and you got to come with the confidence and the power. Stop begging sky wizards with magic wands for help. Realize that you are the help. You were sent here to help yourself, to save yourself. You are the savior. When I make posts online, guy travels 300 miles to bring water to elephants. He's a savior. He's a savior. You know, guy digs a well to give water to his entire village. He's a savior. He didn't wait on no Jesus to show up and dig this well. He dug the well. And no, Jesus didn't make him dig the well. He came up with the conscious thought. He heard his own voice in his own head, and he put action behind that thought and manifested a reality that he saw beneficial to his village. We do it all the time, but we're taking it for granted. You have the power to manifest things. You have the power to create your reality tunnel, and you are the savior. If you don't believe me, just go out there and find somebody that needs help, and then help them, and realize you became the savior for that person. No deity needed. No worshiping this guy and this one and that one. You did that on your own, and you did something that now puts you at a higher vibration, which is now going to allow more things to fall toward you in this reality tunnel and this law of attraction, because you did something called a mitzvah. You did a good thing for somebody and created positive karma. And, you know, those are the types of teachings that people need to get out here. And the real type of way to pray is the way that I just described. Not the begging. When you get on your hands and knees and start begging and crying and all that, all you're doing is wasting. You're getting your pants dirty. You're getting your calluses on your knees. You're bowing down all the time. You get the thing on your head. You get the callus on your forehead right here. Wasting energy. You're wasting it. Oh, you got 7.5 billion people on this planet. 85.9% of those people are all religious. And so both those people are saying multiple prayers a day. Multiply that by that amount of people. You're talking about trillions of prayers a day going up. And look at the state of the world. Their prayers are falling on deaf ears. They don't know what they're doing. They're trying to cast a spell, is what you're doing. When you pray, you're trying to cast a spell. Christians want to admit it, but that's what you're doing. The Bible itself is just a book of spells. All these books are books of spells. That's what it calls spelling. But they're trying to cast a spell, but they don't know how to cast a spell. They haven't researched it enough to know exactly what needs to be done, and what needs to be vocalized, and how it needs to be vocalized, and what kind of energy that's got to come behind it. So they're coming from this humble begging position, which has literally zero power in the third dimension. I mean, none. Zero. I mean, none. So that's what's going on, man. People, they got to know. They got to come with the power and the strength, or they're wasting their energy.
Listen, I want to, at this time, this has been, let me see what's going on in the chat room. I haven't been looking at the chat. Shout out to Sci-Fi for holding down the chat room for me. The sister Sci-Fi, everybody give Sci-Fi a shout out. Sci-Fi Living, she's a moderator in the chat. Thank you, Sci-Fi, for holding on the chat for me. We got about 1,300 people in the chat room tonight live. It's late at night. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. At this time, I want to definitely remind the people, listen, a life-changing, a frequency-changing book. You need to read one of my top 3 books of this year. I just told you my top 3 books. One of the top 3 books of this year, Compendium of the Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson. This brother that's on the platform right now. Let me say this again. Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. This is Brother Rich talking. I don't just plug anybody's stuff. So if I'm talking about something, y'all know my integrity. Y'all know it's real. Compendium of the Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson. I want everybody in this chat. If I got 1,200 people in this chat, I want all y'all to go, or 1,300 people in this chat. I want all y'all to go buy it. Even if you're half of y'all buy it, that's still 600. That's enough for this brother to feel the impact from this platform, which I want him to feel, because I want him to know that we real on this side of town. You know what I'm saying? Let the brother know we serious about our shit over here. So make sure y'all go buy the brother's book on Amazon right now and send a note. Say I was on Brother Rich show. You know, send a note. Listen,
I'll autograph all the books.
Yeah,
all the books I'll autograph.
You heard the brother. The brother say here, autograph all the books. So yeah, make sure y'all get that. That's his energy signature right there. Listen, it helped me. It helped me reach another level. There's only 3 books that I recommend that I said is my top 3, and that was definitely one of the top ones that helped me reach a different level, different frequency, a different vibration this year. So make sure you buy that. With that being said, listen, first time the brother being on the platform, great response. Like I said, let me know if y'all will support if I bring the brother to New York. You know what I'm saying? This brother, I never brought him to New York before. I never did a lecture with him before. Let me know if this is something y'all willing to support. I definitely want to talk to the brother about it. I think he offers something that's next level from what we're used to getting. So if you want this next level information, you have to communicate with me. Let me know. But I think the brother is definitely an upgrade. into what we're getting out here. I think it's just, you know, I'm looking at everything. This brother right here is definitely an upgrade. So let me know, family. With that being said, brother Billy Carson, is there anything you would like to leave the people with before we get out of here?
I want to say, man, one of the biggest things we have to do is we have to support one another. You know, I get a lot of heat sometimes because I support small businesses on my platforms and promote them and give them shout-outs, kind of like what you're doing. I really appreciate you, man, because
I see you do that.
A lot of people, you know, you see what I do, you know, and, you know, it's peanuts. You don't really get anything out of it, but I'm trying to get away from the Fortune 500 and say, okay, brother, I'm going to help you. I'm going to put you up here and let you eat a little bit. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that we have to support people who develop a platform like ourselves, who have a big reach. When we occasionally will drop somebody on here and say, give that person a chance to, you know, tap into the community. If it's a product that caters towards them, and let them eat a little bit instead of giving all the money to these Fortune 500s who don't need any of our money anymore. They're trillionaires. They got parachute clauses in their retirement plans, everything else they don't need. You know, so I think we've got to support one another a little bit more. We have to realize if you see somebody in the conscious community that writes a book or creates T-shirts or comes up with some type of organic product or whatever, we should try to support it if we can, because it's helping to push our movement forward as a whole, versus keeping everything fractured and you over here and I'm over here and this guy now, how dare he make a product that can help me grow my hair back and it's organic? How dare he? I'm just going to go buy, you know, this shampoo from the store. I see a little bit of that animosity from time to time. I think we need to work on eradicating that. We should be happy for one another when somebody develops something that the conscious community can tap into. We should be happy and and supportive of that person. And if we can, you know, if we can get it, or we can recommend somebody to it, or if we can reshare it if we don't buy it, whatever, just so that we can show our own unity. And so, okay, look, man, we're trying to create this, but also come up together at the same time. And those things that other people create can lead into something eventually that maybe you can synchronize with or create, or maybe help something that can help your family. And I get so many great emails and DMs about stuff that I put up that actually help people, that eczema and all this other kind of stuff, you know. So it's really working. So I just, you know, I'd like to see a lot less people getting animosity and envy if I promote another company's product or whatever. If I feel it's something for the conscious community, hey, we're just coming together and we're trying to all come up and everybody has to eat. There's no, I mean, I'm not a breatharian yet, which means I still got to put food in my body. Breatharian just lived off the sunlight. I haven't made it to that level yet. So as long as I got to eat, my family has to eat. I think it's fair enough for everybody to support.
You ain't eating that Popeye's chicken sandwich, brother?
Oh no, I'm not eating that. Listen, where did they get 30 million chickens? I don't even think that many chickens were available at the time. Okay, so I don't think it's real chicken. I think it's something else in there. I'm gonna do a whole video on that. You know?
Yeah. Man, listen.
So it's meat glue and everything else.
Listen, an amazing interview, my brother. I want to thank you so much for coming on the pro. Listen, this brother got a million subscribers on Instagram. He ain't no joke. He do his thing. The brother has 1 million subscribers, and he's been doing this thing for many years. He has a space agency. So many things we didn't even talk about. He has a show on the Dame Dash Network. How can they watch that? Real quick, can you tell them how can they watch that?
Yeah, if you go to dame-studios.com or go to Dame-Studios on Roku, on your smart TV, Apple TV, you can get the Dame-Studios app and install it. And then you can get a free trial. You can watch some of my shows on Dame Dash. It's called Forbidden Knowledge with Billy Carson with the number 4, Forbidden Knowledge with Billy Carson underneath the Galaxy Network. You can also go to Gaia.com/forbidden with the number 4, BIDDEN, GAIA.com/forbidden. And you can watch some free episodes up on Gaia. And you can also get a trial there. I'm on a lot of shows on Gaia. I've been a host on many different shows there. You can check that work out. Some of my lectures are up on Gaia as well. Some of my lectures are up on Dame-Studios. And then you can also go to my website, forbiddenknowledge.com with the number 4, forbiddenknowledge.com. I have a blog on there, and some of my products and my book, of course, is on there. You know, so you can check me out on all social media, Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4. You know, I welcome you guys, and I welcome questions and everything else. I'm the type of person that likes to interact with the community. I'm not just a person that puts stuff up and disappears. You know, and I try to interact with as many people as I possibly can. And, you know, I'm just a regular person, man. I'm just out here spreading information, knowledge, and wisdom to the best of my ability. And I've put a lot of blood, sweat, and years into this. And what are you doing? And my wife's running around.
That's how my girl be. That's how.
Yeah, you know, just walk regular. I mean, and so I put a lot of blood, sweat, and years into this thing. And, you know, I spent a lot of my own personal money, more than I'll ever get back from selling these books or anything else. It's been in the hundreds of thousands of dollars I spent just traveling the planet and doing research. And fortunately, a lot of people have recognized that and now are putting me in different shows. I've done research for Ancient Aliens. I've got a big speaking event coming up next year, September 2020 in Blackpool, UK. The great Eric Von Daniken, who's going to be retiring soon, said he wants to hand the torch over to me and put the whole, you know, Ancient Aliens, Ancient Astronaut platform in my hands. And I'm going to be the keynote speaker at his event in Blackpool, UK, September 2020. And we're going to build on that event. You know, so just a lot. It's just a lot, man. I'm just everywhere. I got 130 social media accounts, you know, across all platforms, over 3 million followers total. And I'm just out here putting out, literally, I put out the most content per day out of any, you know, platform because I have so many accounts. Yeah. So we're just putting out information consistently.
Hey, listen, family. Thanks for tuning in. I can ask this brother questions for another 2 hours, but I can't keep the brother all night. Y'all can see the brother's busy. He got so many social media accounts. The brother's doing so many things at this time. I can't thank the brother enough. Like I said, I'm definitely gonna try to get the brother to come to New York to do a lecture. But besides that, Billy Carson, thank you for coming on. This interview is going to go down in history as a classic, an amazing interview that people are going to remember forever. Thanks for coming on my platform, my brother. And I will talk to you soon, my brother.
I appreciate you. I'll share this video everywhere. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Peace.
All right.
I remember when life was better. I remember like I've been alive forever. I remember being born in abundance you never measure. Predecessor from the epicenter, the genetic mecca. I'm a representative of the metal netter. You dead if you never met her. The devil, he never better. I protect the treasure, then the presence entered. Kemet was never desert. Do the rain dance, make the weather wetter. A crown is a head antenna. Call me Imhotep, the architect. I'm clever, break a temple down and put it back together. I remember I was royalty, from the soil where the oil be. Never let the bigger man in me grow from the little boy in me. Been a victim of my loyalty, let my ego kill the joy in me. That's what ended up destroying me. I forgot the Lord anointed me. I forgot that I was God. I forgot that I was free. I forgot that I was king of the jungle until I remembered I'm me. She forgot that she was God. She forgot that she was free. She was stuck up in this slumber so long she forgot she was